41, section 41, I'll go to 41. I'll jump 40. I'll go to section 41. Yes, 41A has an express requirement that you have not fulfilled. It requires that the directorate, in coordination with the contracting authority, shall before commencing an evaluation. You are telling us an evaluation is underway. You are even doing due diligence. But the law says, before commencing an evaluation of a privately initiated proposal, you shall conduct due diligence to confirm that the private party has not been debarred by any country or any international organization from participating in public-private partnerships or similar arrangement, is not corrupt, has not engaged in acts of corruption, and has not been sued or convicted on account of acts of corruption. It's a requirement of the law. Before you touch anything they propose, it is supposed to, under SEM 41, you have to demonstrate that the group is tax compliant in all jurisdictions where it has operated or operates. You go on and says, the entity has not, and its directors or officers have not been convicted of any criminal offense related to professional conduct within a period of 5 years preceding the submission of proposal, and have not otherwise been disqualified pursuant to administrative suspension or debarment proceedings. So, all these things, and I mean others I have tried to highlight out, but just to leave it up because of time, I would have expected you, before you began addressing this Honorable Committee of the Senate, to first of all justify why it is you, a Minister for Transport, who is answering matters on PPP. The letter was addressed to Mr. Mudavadi. At that time, he was covering the entire cabinet. Who was the minister responsible who should be answering these questions? Is it you or the Minister for Finance? You are a stranger in these proceedings. The minister to answer these questions is the Minister for Finance, not you. You are not recognized in law. And so, secondly, I would have expected the answers to begin by showing that there was this due diligence carried out and the Adani was cleared before the government went further to begin looking at them. Secondly, there's a requirement in the law that you must prove that competitive bidding could not give us a bidder. It must be that Adani is bringing something so unique to them that you must go the PPP way. If competitive bidding can realize the same result, you are supposed to do competitive bidding. Where is the proof that only Adani has the technology or the whatever to expand an airway or the capacity? So you needed to justify that public bidding was ruled out. The default for public procurement is competitive bidding. So your initial suggestion that the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act was like sidestepped by the PPA is not true. The PPA is just stands on the Public Procurement Act to advance its course. So I put it to you that you are trying to scam us in your response. You have no standing to address this committee, and I would ask the chair to demand that the Minister for Finance, who is the entity recognized by law under the PPP, comes to address this committee on the questions we have asked. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Before I give the CS the opportunity to respond, it's good to note that the CS is properly before this committee. This is a committee of transportation. This is a committee that saw it fit to look into this issue of Adani because the is a matter of public interest. And we invited the CS to appear here to shed light. If we find the gaps, nothing stops this committee from inviting any other person. And probably you have seen some gaps. So nothing stops this committee from inviting anyone. But if you remember very well, maybe you are not in when I was making my opening remarks, I asked the CS, he was supposed to be accompanied by the Director General, Public-Private Partnership, who is Mr. Christopher Kiregwa. Yeah. And I also asked that yesterday. So, and I said we are going to deal with that issue at the tail end because I didn't want to chase the CS away because it's a matter of national interest. So this is another character that we are going to discuss as a committee because we have invited the Treasury. We had actually invited the PS for Treasury, but we were expecting the Director General of Public-Private Partnership, who is actually the one who is supposed to answer all these questions. But the CS saw it fit to come before us because he understands our role as a committee, and I should thank him for appearing here. But having said that, Bwana CS, briefly, because it was Senator Omtata took us through the law and what the law says. I would want you to comment on Senator Omtata's remarks or contribution. I did not hear the question, but I would want to hear your comment on that.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator Omtata, for the question. As regarding the due diligence that ought to have been done before commencing the exercise, my written response does say an initial due diligence was done, Chair, so it was done. It is not true that it was not done. If you go to my first page of my document, I did say in paragraph number 3, starting with currently we are processing through the stages outlined in the PPP framework. We are in the detailed due diligence phase while also negotiating the proposal submitted by Adani. An initial desktop due diligence was done by KAA and the PPP Directorate before commencing the evaluation. So it was done. As regarding the procurement process, I'm not a lawyer, chairman like Omutata. I thought he was, sorry. But I've just been referred very quickly to Section 4.2 of the PPP Act, which does say the provision of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act shall not apply to a public-private partnership. So I don't know whether we are reading the same law, the same act. And if you go quickly to section, which other section was this we wanted to refer to? Section 40, which basically talks to a contracting authority may consider a privately initiated proposal submitted under subsection 1, which is a private party may submit a privately initiated proposal to a contracting authority, and the authority may consider a privately proposal submitted accordingly. Chair, let me basically say, for big infrastructural projects, like I've said earlier on, you basically, as a country, are seeking big investments. And it's one thing to market your country, to develop your infrastructure. Other countries, like somebody said, Ethiopia is developing 100,000 passenger terminal. 100 million. Ethiopia, Uganda, sorry, I've got some numbers here. Rwanda is just developing its airport that will have a capacity of 14 million passengers at 1.3 billion. Just to talk to the issue of cost, we are asked many times, why are we spending 1.8 when Rwanda is spending 1.3? The capacity for Rwanda is 14. The capacity we are developing is 23. Ethiopia is developing 100 million passenger. But more importantly, look at the competitive aspects of Kenya being that anchor state when we do enjoy the benefits of what I said earlier, geolocationing with Mombasa Port, that we should not be competing with Ethiopia, who do not have the benefit of having a seaport. And therefore, we need to ensure that by sea, by air, by road, we are competing. Whereas our fiscal headroom cannot allow us to build a new airport, which we should have built some 15 years ago, a new airport. We need a new airport, and it is incumbent upon us to really suit investors. If, for example, in my last trip to China, which is the China-Africa kind of FOCA, Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, we are marketing a number of infrastructure projects like roads, and we are saying, how do we open up our road to Malaba from Nairobi, from Mombasa, and so on and so forth. So to be able to attract that kind of investment, Chair, you need to give investors information and to be able to make informed decisions to come to Kenya and not to go to Ethiopia. Let me rest. I don't know whether there is a very specific question which I didn't basically address from.
Maybe you can address that, Klaus, again, that you talked about the PIPs are not subject to.
I've just quickly been referred to Section 4.2, Chair, which does read the provision of the Public Procurement Act, Asset and Disposal Act 2015, shall not apply to a public-private partnership. So we basically have to prosecute the privately initiated proposal in line with the PPP Act. I think the biggest challenge, Chair, we are facing is that we have not really employed often the PPP Act, or not many projects have succeeded through the PPP procurement process. And then therefore, some of the challenges we are facing because of non-disclosure, there's a lot of negotiation in the process, is lack of information. And in Section 42 of the same PPP Act, it does read, a contracting authority may consider a privately initiated submitted under this, under one, which is a privately party may submit a privately initiated proposal to a contracting authority. And that is what Adani did. Thank you.
Okay, and when you're there, just go to 41. No, the same section, 43J, that states, the privately initiated proposal under subsection 1 shall contain the following information. J states, a justification why the project is not suitable for open competitive procurement. Yes. I think on that one, that's why that's the area. That's why we feel that Adani's proposal is the only proposal that we should go out with. Why not, for competitiveness, say we have one proposal, but before we consider this, we are going to invite any other person out there who would want to come up with their own proposals.
Chair, I'm advised we satisfied ourselves that there was good justification why the project could not be suitable for open competitive. I think you're talking about the kind of investment we are looking at. The investors who look at various aspects of investing in various destinations. And yes, I think we can give that justification why we think the project, or why we satisfied ourselves that the project was not suitable for open competitive.
Point of order, Chair.
And that's why we're still insisting this Mr. Christopher Kiregwa, the Director General, of public-private partnership should be here. I don't know whether it's before maybe the end of this session. You should have him here. I know. Okay, so if you can contact him, but I have Senator Sifuna.
Yes, Chair, you remember me asking the CS when the policy of government changed. It must have been at that point where he says he found justification for abandonment of, an open tender system. So, can he confirm that he is not just speaking ad lib, that there is a document?
Yes.
A document by government justifying the departure from, in terms of policy. And also, Honorable Chair, let us remember the provisions of Article 10 of the Constitution. Article 10 inserts the participation of the people at the point of policy formulation and a change of policy. So that, Honorable CS, if indeed government was abandoning this path, having found this justification, you needed to involve people and tell people that going forward, if we are discussing expansion of JKIA or any other national infrastructure projects, we are going to go the PPP way. So that policy change, Chair, we have to locate it in time and a process. Was it a cabinet decision? Who made that decision? And how were the people involved in the decision making?
Chair. Yes.
I thought we had agreed that all members ask questions, then supplementary are defined.
Oh yeah.
But can
I just allowed, because that one was so close to what we were saying.
A point of order about Section 4 that the Minister referred to. It refers to a PPP agreement not being subject to the other act, not the initiation of a procurement. This act outs the other act at a certain stage of the procurement process, the agreement, and you have seen they have given a very elaborate procedure of how getting that agreement position.
All right. Noted. CS?
Chair, as regarding the change of policy and why, I think the question is still why Adani and whether there was change of policy. I'm trying to locate where there was this feasibility study done and which informed us accordingly. PS, can you assist me very quickly?
Thank you. Chair, we, as Kenya Airports Authority, we did a feasibility study for JKIA. That was after doing the National Aviation Policy and the JKIA Medium-Term Investment Plan. This feasibility study informed that the JKIA requirements for investment amount to $1.63 billion. We received a PAP of a proponent willing to invest close to $2 billion, and we satisfied ourselves that we can move as guided per the Act. Yes, the competitive bidding could have taken place. We start with the request for qualifications, and you go to the second stage of request for proposal. It is a lengthier process. Right now, JKIA has a capacity of handling 7.6 million passengers per annum. Last year, we did 8.2 million passengers. That's why you see the long queues. That's why you see a very infrastructure that is really stressed out. And we made a decision to go and admit the PAP.
Excuse me, Chair. I would like to ask a supplementary question on the PS, please, in relation to what he has just answered, because I believe, Chair, that is actually not the question he was asked. Did the Kenya Airports Authority, PS, do an analysis, feasibility study, do a financial analysis, do an evaluation with the critical sector industries and critical players to make sure that that report, which would have made it possible for us as the oversighting team, should be having it in this list that the PS has presented. That list is not here. So, Chair, I want you to look at this issue by accepting that that agreement, that feasibility study doesn't exist here. The feasibility study we have is been done by by a company called ALC, and ALC is not a Kenyan company, and this is why we have these challenges.
Is there the feasibility study on policy? Because you talked about the policy, Bana PS, before you clarify that.
What you are saying, please,
yes.
Very important.
Yes.
I want Bana PS to tell us the problem with KAA. Management problem. That is what he wants to know. If you've done that, you should have known the problem is financial or management. What I said, he talked about Ethiopia Bole. Bole, Ethiopia, they 17 million passengers, 2023-2024. We carried 8 million passengers. And the profit they're making US dollars in a year, same year, including Ethiopia Airlines. So the problem we have, is it financial or is it management? Just tell us.
The expression of interest, because that question was asked from that policy.
Chair, the feasibility report that is attached was done by the proponent as per the Act, as per the PPP Act. But JKA or KA also did its own feasibility report earlier, and it was concluded in February. And that is also an attachment, and it was done by ALG Consulting Group, which is a Spanish consulting firm. And it is part of the attachments that have been submitted today.
Chair.
To the point of order.
Chair, I beg your indulgence. There's a question from...
Yeah, the question, answer the question by...
There's a question on, is the problem financial with KA? Yes, it is. KA makes around 4 to 5 billion a year. If we are to plan for an investment of 200 billion Kenya shillings.
Excuse me, Chair. The PS is misinforming the House. KAA makes 19 billion shillings a year.
Let's.
He's misinforming the House. It's in this report.
Yes.
So why are you saying 6 billion?
I'm talking about the net. We make 19 billion, but I'm talking about the net, having taken
the net, the profit.
Thanks for the clarification.
We make 19 billion, but I'm talking about the net, having taken
the net, the profit.
Thanks for the clarification.
The last 24 hours, the allegations we are having that the Swiss authorities have frozen the Adani Group bank accounts of 310 million Kenya shillings. Waziri, why don't you cancel this deal as of today before you walk out? And I know the president will understand. Number two, what is the consequence in case this deal is brought or halted today as you walk out from here? Before close of business, 5 p.m. Kenyan time. Secondly, your former colleague before the House in November last year, Kipchumba Murkomen, there were 2 Chinese companies and who is Civil Engineering Group and China Aerotechnology Corporation called CATIC, were given an award of 55 billion to build 178,000 square meters terminal, which was designed by Pascal and Watson of London. The information I have is that the government, after the deal was poached, the government paid 4.7 billion Kenya shillings. What is the position on that matter, Waziri? Number 3, under the PMF Act and the Constitution, why would you prefer privately initiated investment as opposed to open tendering process? Is this a case of money laundering by individuals that want to launder money using this investment at JKIA? Number 4, this PIP by Adani Group of companies, is it only on JKIA, airports or airstrips, including Karenga airstrip in Kericho, or is it only JKIA restricted on build, operate, and transfer model, Waziri? Number 5, I've heard you talking about stakeholder. Stakeholder engagement does not mean public. Even Article 10 of the Constitution, public participation involve even people who are not aware there is an airport or aeroplane. Is it in order for this committee, and what will be a comment, to indicate that public participation was never done as per envisaged by the Constitution? And finally, Chair, I'm happy Senator Okia Okoitio Mtata has raised a question on the legality under PP, Public-Private Partnership Act. The reading of that act is that this deal is anchored on quicksand of fraud, pure manipulation, conmanship, self-aggrandizement, greed,
grand theft,
and corruption and larceny and lethargy of the people who want to perpetuate illegality. Chair, you know, when witnesses appear, they assume senators are busy from reading. Although we did Kipchoge 159 in reading documentation, it is out of curiosity that in the board minutes of KIA, this will be my conclusion. Yes. It is out of curiosity that in the board meeting, there are glaring concerns by the board. Either it was ignored, either it was not dismissed, or some big boy somewhere were playing golf and decided that KIA board meeting minutes does not matter. In the observation in this minute 6/07/15 of 2024, consideration of the projects, I will read one paragraph in the interest of time, that KIA so that the proponent can generate its target revenue. I think that's Adana Group. It was observed include our brother, the acting MD, Mr. Henry Ogoye. It was observed different quarters in government, making it difficult to advance that the acting, and we would want to know later, Chair, as a supplementary, why Ogoye engagement through who are these interests, such as money laundering. Question. So in their own minutes, Chair, they and even within government itself. So Waziri, looking at this minute in time, looking at these minutes, either KIA was ignored, either Ministry of Treasury was ignored, and I hope, Chair, as you rule, the Minister of Treasury should also appear. Minister of Treasury, the PS and the DG. Of course, DG, Mr. Chair, should be frog-marched by the IG, yes, because he has defied this committee, Chair. So the question is, there is no common position on this matter.
Should be fine.
So, Waziri, is it in order, as you walk out of this place, to cancel and call off this fraud by Adani Group? That is on page, members, Chair, I think people are looking for it, is page 4, the last attachment of Roman 4. We took a lot of time running about Roman numbers, but it has never helped us in life. But then Roman 4 of that minute, Chair. So if Waziri can Waziri kindly cancel this, as Abraham Lincoln said, this is our government for the people, fight the people, and for the people. Do what the people want. Cancel this deal, and we end this charade. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Bana CS.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I think we all agree that Kenyans need a new airport. I don't think that's in doubt. I don't think the questions about Adani that we are prosecuting is to, I guess, part of the, will help us to go through the public participation, information positive, information negative. We do more better due diligence, but ensure that we do not lose, we do not throw away the baby with the bathwater. It's important, Chair, that this is not an investment that you are investing some few Kenya shillings. It's a very big investment, and would wish to all be working together to seek for way forward on building a new airport. And therefore, they must be properly answered because, Chair, I did spend time in the beginning to show that the process, the PPP process is basically an on-off, a negotiation process, and you don't negotiate by send it over to the PPP Secretariat, we come back, work with our transaction advisor, respond to those challenges. Another democracy, or another democracy we are like many other African countries, you would be attracting the kind of questions we are receiving from the House this morning, and that in the minutes was that should we be using senior management shouldn't we have a bit of an elevated committee to seriously focus in a year to ratify some approvals? We don't get into a situation where the board doesn't quite understand this transaction. That is what that item, it was observed that the project has attracted interest from different quarters in government, making it difficult to advance common position as the government. The board sought clarification as to whether KIA management had internal committee with KIA position on all aspects of the project, and it was reported that decisions were being undertaken by KIA represented by general managers responsible for procurement, financial and resource, JKIA legal representative for The committee recommended that KIA should ensure strict so it was basically being elevated to give the level of attention, even as the full board is advised, there is a focal point in a committee of the board that basically fully understands this transaction, and therefore the kind of hard questions that we are being asked, and which I do indicate as Minister that we take them very positively. We need to interrogate, we need to get to the bottom of our due diligence. It is not like we are the rich boy in town with all the money to be able to build an airport. If you check those minutes, it does also recognize the fact that JKIA does not have capacity to build a new airport, which has been articulated by the PS from the bottom line, 19 billion revenue. There's an expenditure of 13 billion, 11 billion, and therefore, if we were to build an airport with own source revenue, we'll be doing it in 50 years. The airport we have, Chair, is let me stop there. It's becoming narrative. But more importantly, yes, all the information, negative, positive, will help us to really ensure that we do a thorough due diligence, and it is a process ongoing now. To the extent, Chair, that we canceled the deal. We don't have a deal. We're just negotiating. We're just negotiating. We don't have a deal. Absolutely.
Point of order.
Thank you very much, Banasias. Maybe before I go to that, because I have a written submission here from a colleague, it's also good just to highlight, because he has done a lot of research. This is a written submission by Senator of Mandera, Senator Ali Roba, who, as you know, is also a former pilot, so probably he's well-traveled. And there's a document I'm going to... Current pilot, okay. Istanbul Airport, Turkey, BOT, Indira Gandhi International Airport, India, 30-year concession, extendable by another 30 years. LaGuardia, 5-year lease agreement. So in other words, nobody is really fighting investors and BOTs. What we are trying to do is the processes. And he highlights down here, which I'm going to read, that after even giving the benefits of BOT model for JKIA, that is access to private capital, risk sharing and innovation, economic growth and connectivity and all that, he argues, While I advocate for the BOT model as an effective strategy for the expansion of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, I must express my strong opposition to partnering with the Adani Group for this critical project. This position is based on significant integrity concern associated with the company. And he goes on highlighting the three. Let me just read the headlines. Integrity concerns and financial misconduct, regulatory scrutiny and controversies, potential reputational damage. He has even given a recommendation which the committee will go through when we retreat to write our report. But from this, I will ask only one question. Since the ministry or the PPP, the director of PPP or the KAA have not done due diligence, what if when we retreat to write this report, we were to resolve that we do that work for you by summoning Adani to appear before this committee? What would you be say? But I see yes.
Thank you, Chair, and you have rightfully really brought out the fact that we consume all this information to help. But to the extent that a due diligence, certain rules of engagement in terms of how some of these things are, you would not be having the ministers serving the country from where we sit today, if you were to do that. Equally, maybe if you did one of information in the due process, appear before the House as we are appearing. We all get involved, not just in shooting down an investor who could end up helping Kenya, and we end up really saying, look, we don't care whether we have a road in northern Kenya, we don't care whether we have power. We need power for our people. We are leaders. We need to provide service to our leaders. Let's critique like we are doing constructively and get to the bottom of some of those negative information using credible source of information. We'll demand information credibly, and we'll take them through the due process and confirm. But let's not also act like there are so many investors willing to come into Kenya. If there were, we will not be struggling with the capitation for schools today, with the challenges in our universities. We need to put social investments into health, education, and the areas we need to put. We don't have a headroom.
Point of order.
Each and every senator, a minute to give closing remark. Remember, we are collecting views, collecting documents so that the committee can again sit down and scrutinize every other document so that we can give a report or resolution as per the committee. So members, let the CS complete.
So just to finish and straight answer that question straight and clear, since we are doing due diligence, we'll basically have that information submitted by Senator Ali Roba, and I can assure you, Chairman, it will form some of the fundamental questions as we go through the due diligence to satisfy ourselves that is Adani a suitable investor or concessionaire to build an airport for us or not. And to a very good extent, Chair, if Senate was to use that information to say, then we all become part of the negotiating team. So allow us to run through the due process with that kind of information that can be volunteered to the committee. And when we come back to the House, we can be able to articulate and answer what we found out and why we decide to go forward or not. When I said we shall, it's not because there is a deal. Those are deal breakers. If the shall doesn't work, as a government, we must get this and we must get that. Those are deal breaker requirements, then we don't have a deal. So it's not that the deal has been done. We must get certain fundamentals right to be able to protect job security, to be able to ensure that our airport remains competitive. We are not just charging too much service charges at the airport and therefore giving away the opportunity, tourist opportunity to Ethiopia, to Tanzania and other countries. So, Chair, the shall is a question of the deal breakers that we must get. And if Senate feels like we should also have more deal breakers in this deal that we should negotiate, let's allow the negotiating team to use those deal breakers to make or break, as opposed to breaking it when they have not said no. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think now we have to give closing remarks.
Chair, I think I have.
Senator Onyonka, you know, you stood on a point of order, so I thought you have commented.
CS, thanks for coming. And as I said yesterday, as my classmate, I hope that whatever we say here, you'll deliver it to the president. He needs to listen to what some of us have been saying. First of all, Chair, I'd like to make a special statement from myself that it was not easy for me to get information about Adani. This information the young man sits in one of the investment companies in France, and he saw these documents passed on his desk. When he called me, the information that I was speaking made me, first of all, get worried about himself, because as you realize, Chair, I actually publicly have stated that the information Nelson Amenya has given me as of 3 days ago is that he has found some people who are following him in France, and he has actually, we have been talking to some people to create a safe haven for him so that he can be siphoned out of France. That's how delicate and personal this matter is to some of us. So, CS, I would like to, if you come across any of your friends who have been participating in this thing, tell them to leave Amenya alone. Tell them what we are trying to do is discussing issues about either we accept that Kenya is going to be a country of public good or is going to be a country of private good. And what we are saying is that we have information that we are going to table here, and I will tell you, my CS, some of these things are shocking, completely shocking. I would like to ask you, you can answer or you can keep the information and answer me before. Chair, I will start with asking the CS. Do you know somebody called Jayesh Saini?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. How do you know him?
I think he's in the health industry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would I be wrong if I said that Mr. Jayesh Saini is the one who has actually been given the transaction of managing our SHIF, which is the new development out of NHIF, because he's the owner of Nairobi West Hospital, and he is the one who is actually been given the complete system of the financial management of the SHIF system.
Point of order. I would want, Senator, we restrict ourselves to the mandate.
Chair, I think you're wrong.
No,
you're wrong, Chair. There's a reason why. You have to allow me to interrogate the matter. You must allow me to interrogate the matter to its logical conclusion.
Let me explain.
Then you can make a ruling.
And when you get out of the rail,
I am not. There is a relationship between the corruption that is happening with the Adani deal and what Mr. Jayesh is doing.
Because
so, Mr. Chair, don't get keep for him. Please don't.
No.
Point of order, Chair.
Don't get keep for him. You are going the wrong way, Chair.
Senator Onyonka, just 1 minute, please.
Yes.
Chair, it is quite possible that there is somewhere that Onyonka... There
is a nexus. I'm trying to create the nexus. Allow me to make my case.
Senator Onyonka, allow him. Just let me explain something, Chair. It is possible that there is somewhere that Senator Onyonka is driving at.
That is where I'm going.
Just
allow me to go where I'm going.
Senator Onyonka, you're out of order.
Yes, he is not listening. And I'm trying to...
Your SG, I am telling you now you're out of order.
No, Chair, can you protect Senator Onyonka? Because if now Senator Sifuna invokes the power of being an SG, he might chicken out from pursuing a very interesting line.
I'm on the mic to just guide the chair.
Yes.
I was saying it is possible there is somewhere
order, you cannot guide the chair.
In terms of nexus, you allow him to, and I don't want to use this aviation analogy, let him land the point. Let's see where he's going with it. Just give him a little bit.
I was afraid of getting out of context and losing Kenyans, because the issue we are dealing with is the issue of the airport, JKIA. So I thought He has lost his
Chair,
his
I am
thoughts
giving you
by
the
talking
next,
about health.
There is a nexus. No,
I was just trying to bring him to
allow me to set it up.
Okay, now ask your question.
The question I'm asking, I asked him, does he know Jayesh Saini? He said yes. Allow me to interrogate him.
Okay.
Continue, you have a
Thank
minute.
you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
CS, would I be wrong to say that Mr. Saini is the agent of Adani in Kenya? The answer is yes or no. It's up to you.
I'm not aware.
You're not aware. Are you also aware that meetings that took place in Dubai where this deal was being discussed, Mr. Jayesh Saini was sitting in that meeting with individuals from the Kenyan government, and I will state here that the person who met Mr. Jayesh Saini in Dubai was Honorable Murkomen when he was the minister in the position you are in.
I am not aware.
Without having evidence that I can prove, but I think it's important that I make the statement that in that meeting that money exchanged hands. And Chair, later on, I believe as we continue, these details should be presented to this House. The second issue I wanted to ask the CS, in your understanding, I want you to go to where Honorable Chirchir was. You go to page, Chair, it is, we start with the consideration of the project progress.
Minute 6.
Minute 6. I want you to go there, Chair. And your MD of KAA could answer this because it directly involves him, but again, it is under your jurisdiction. A PPP project is considered under the following factors: value for money, affordability, commercial value, manageability, and acceptability. The PIP by AHL was submitted on the 1st of March. The evaluation report submitted to the PPP committee on the 8th of March. And acceptability. The PIP by AHL was submitted on the 1st of March. Please write that date down. I'm asking you.
I think, Chair, what we're basically saying is PIP, privately initiated proposal, has been submitted to JKIA on that date. They could just submit
You agree that they actually did the feasibility and finished the report you've given me in your class. means if you clarify certain individuals in government, and this comes immediately after somebody had 136 billion shillings for a period of 35 years or whatever it is. Did it occur to you, Bwana Waziri, that when people in government have an interest in this matter, what did it mean to you? Because we didn't know. So I'm talking to you as an outsider. What was your interpretation of this?
Like I've said, Chair, we are asking ourselves, should it be PPPD? Should it be PPP? The Treasury was for approval. No, it was going to stage 2. It would go to stage 3. A proper due diligence that you visit, you answer the kind of, you look at all the details, and by the time you reach stage number 20, it will possibly be a procurement cycle that is taking a whole year. So to the extent that we are employing PPP for mega projects because we don't have the kind of outlay capital to invest, somebody in KAA, why not competitive and so on and so forth. But this is just stage 2 of the 20 stages.
CS.
But let me allow.
CS, just a minute.
Yeah.
Through the chair, Senator.
Through the chair, thank you. Thank you, Chair. CS, that's not what I asked you about. You are a cabinet secretary in government. You have gotten a document that has been written by a board. Let's assume this board is Sony Sugar. And members of the board tell you, you want to hold a PPP exercise in this factory. We are uncomfortable with it because we have received information that some of your government officials and people, big-time players in your government, have an interest in that matter. What does that imply to you?
Let me just on a point of order, Mr. Chairman, that question was asked to the CS, and the CS is the one who's taken oath. If the acting managing director wants to answer, he has to do so with permission from the CS. But you cannot just jump in. Okay. This is not a chicken coop.
Is well advised?
It is, and the CS should allow you to take the microphone. Yeah. But I understand you don't understand, so we accept that. CS, can we proceed?
Feel free to direct any member of your team to assist in answering questions.
I'll do that, Chair. I think to the extent that we've received a PIP proposal to basically build an airport that we've been desiring to build for 13, 14, 15 years. If I received a PPP proposal today for Mausami Dironi, I'll possibly be trying to push it within the next 1 week to ask ourselves, is it true that somebody can build for us this road? It's not something that I want to sit on in my office. I'll possibly be talking to everybody and saying, we have this proposal, can it work? And therefore, depending on the agency, there could be interest. Chair, that I've just gone back to my step 1 to step 20. Even if the board was sitting to consider this, there's a whole due process that everybody must be satisfied, including why we are appearing in Senate today. Some of the simple questions because of lack of information, and be able to satisfy everybody that the due process must be followed to the extent of availing ourselves a new airport or starting the process again. Why don't you allow me to basically get...
I'm satisfied with your answer.
Thank you.
Because I realize you're taking me where I don't want to go. The question I wanted to ask, Chair, is very simple. Who delivered the report, the evaluation report, and how was it delivered to whoever that received it? The proposal.
Can the question be made clear in terms of, is it the delivery process? Or?
You see, there is... if you look at the issue that I've read here severally about how the board met, and in a period of 30 days, there was everything that was taking place, and that was geared towards producing a report to justify and prove why this is a very good deal. Who delivered that report, and when did they deliver it? And how did they deliver it? There's a reason why I'm asking that question.
Yes, do you want to assist me on this? But the more I think about the 30 days, I think they took so long. If we really needed an airport, if you receive that today, it would be out of.
I'm looking at the documents you gave me.
Which
you are the one who gave me the documents.
Which point of order, Chair? I think the CS some nursery school kids. Respect our intelligence and address us as
and answer if you know the answer. I say I do. If you don't, we are lenient as a committee. We can always read it to you. Just be direct to the point and to avoid, and answer if you know the answering, invoking some of the starting orders like starting order 105, which is a statement of facts, whenever we are interacting with this department or with this issue. So let's restrain ourselves to the issue at hand, which brought us to this committee.
Chair,
by so doing, we'll be able to get answers. And that's why, initially when we started, remember we were giving every senator about 3 minutes, so that you ask your questions and you get a response. So the moment you bring this kind of interaction, you will have point of orders, and we might lose the points that you want to execute.
I actually nearly want to agree with you, but let me tell you why I'm cross-examining the CS.
No, proceed with the questions.
Please allow me. There's a very good reason I want to do that.
Chair, with the permission of Senator Onyonka, yesterday I said something about CS Chirchir. He's one of the few people, out of my interactions with cabinet secretaries, and I have a very low opinion of the cabinet, but he's one of the few who is usually very forthright. So, Honorable CS, you remember I owe you something. Congratulations. Please don't get derailed. I need you to be the same forthright person. If something is wrong, Honorable CS, the CS that I know, will say it is wrong. And it was not people under the bus if you must, but you must retain
Senator Onyonka is scaring him.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. He's my former year mate in the university. We love each other. We've spent quite a bit of time together. I'm just trying to make sure we get the truth about this. The next question I want to ask, actually, Chair, through you, is not to the CS. I want to ask the gentleman who has been acting. And you said your name is who?
Henry Ogoye.
How long have you been at the airport?
Since 2006.
Since 2006. Please allow me to interrogate this. Chair, I would like to present this document to you because it's a public document. That is the report that was done by Honorable Kosing under the Hansard, and that report, very, very fortunately, Chair, our Deputy Chair was in Honorable Gachagua was in that committee, and the other person who was in that committee was Honorable the Solicitor General, Mr. Mose, Shadrach Mose. Why do you think the report which came 2018, and it was saying that we cannot give our airport under the PPP arrangement, why did the committee make recommendations that that should be stopped? And when did the government change the policy? The same question that Honorable Sifuna is asking. For us not doing competitive bidding to do our airport, and decided that we are now going to give this to Adani because you are there.
And as you answer that, clarify, because you have said you have been there since 2006, and at what capacity or which capacity have you been since 2006?
Through my CS, thank you. I joined the airport authority from Kenya Electric Generating Company in 2006. And up to the time I took over as the acting CEO, I was the one in charge of strategy in the authority. Yeah,
through chair, which means he knows everything that has been happening from the last 10 years.
So in terms of what Senator Nyonka is asking is that I do remember that Kenya Airways had at one time wanted to take over the airport. And one thing which should be very clear to the committee here is that running an airline business is quite different from running an airport. It is just like the way judges and advocates meet in court.
Point of order, Chair.
Yeah, I think it's better we let
but Ethiopia Airlines are running Bole Airport.
Before, let's every member execute their point. You cannot inject on every syllable. Let them finish their statement.
So what happened was that when Kenya Airways made a proposal to take over JKIA to run, even the capital expenditure was even not clear what they were going to do. The interest was not the fact that they wanted to invest in it, but the interest was on some other things. Having gone through the entire process, memoranda were submitted, it was decided that it was not the wisest move to do.
Thank you, Chair. So,
just on a point of order, allow me on that particular point, because Senator Nyonga has asked a very, very important question and has submitted findings of this parliament. The airport is governed under the Kenya Airports Act, which was established in 1991. And if you read that act clearly, it talks about the objective of that act, and it talks about the roles of the KAA. The PS, when asked the question whether Adani is going to be taking over the entire operation, said yes, or he answered to the affirmative. Now, does it mean that we are now going to use a PPP to amend an act of parliament by giving away? And it is very, very clear. It actually says to operate, KAA is a state-owned enterprise established in 1991 under the Kenya Airports Authority Act, Chapter 395 of the laws of Kenya. And the role is to manage, operate civil airports, airstrip across Kenya. So are you telling me you're now, first of all, going to amend that act so that you exclude JKIA, so that you can be able to send it out to run it differently?
Honorable Chair, there are various ways of running our business. There are businesses we can run directly. There are businesses which we run through the support of the private sector. Like we run a number of concessions across the network. What we've run into is the fact that we don't have the financial muscle to expand the infrastructure at JKIA. The infrastructure is 10 years behind. If we look at our balance sheet, we are not able to address that infrastructure deficit. And that's why it came to us that can we invoke the PPP Act 2021 to address that deficit. The fact that we are going to concession part of the airport for purposes of aeronautical facilities. When I talk of aeronautical, I mean the airside, things to do with the runway, the parking bays, the terminal building. It don't mean that we are going to vacate our responsibility. In any case, there is no operator which will operate at the airport without being supervised by Kenya Airports Authority.
Chair, could I proceed, please?
How many minutes do you need? Because I think you have 5 more minutes.
That's right. I'll rush through it so long as nobody stops me.
Okay.
And Mr. Ogoye, you have been in civil aviation for how long? Through you, Chair.
For 19 years.
Thank you. When you were negotiating with Adani, you understand how the Kenyan civil aviation infrastructure is set up vis-a-vis the private civil aspects of our aviation and the military aspect of aviation. Did you decide or even think of negotiating with Adani what they are going to do with our military presence? Because we use The radar at the airport is used by our military and also by civil aviation.
Honorable Chair, within the agreement, we have something called common services.
Wait, an agreement with who?
No. We've already shared with you the heads of terms.
Yes.
Heads of terms is a summary of negotiation items.
Yes.
Within that set of terms, there are certain common use services which have been identified. And even the fact that
I want to help you. Have you ever seen any country in the world that gives its civil or military aviation responsibility to a private company to run?
You see, Adani, when any concessionaire who is coming to operate the airport will confine itself to the commercial side of the airspace.
Through you, Chair, how would they do it unless the military has bought its own radar?
I think if you are aware, the way the airport, the civil aviation is structured in the country, Kenya Civil Aviation Authority is in charge of the airspace management. And any airport operator must comply with the requirements of Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. Just like Kenya Airports Authority complies, any concessionaire who comes on board must also salute that regulation in terms of responsibility with respect to the usage of the airspace.
So through you, Chair, what you are actually telling me is that yes, all the air traffic controllers that we have in the Republic of Kenya would not be interfered with by Adani.
I can confirm.
Where is that agreement?
It is hosted by Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. Because
would you be candid enough and agree to table it when we are meeting here next?
I would suggest, in the interest of separation of responsibility, that you direct the PS, our PS, to invite the DG or KCA to come and confirm that.
Whether you want the PS to bring it or the CS, my argument, I'm saying that agreement was not delivered to us, and I would like to be presented.
Because it was not.
The next thing I want to raise, Chair, is asking my brother, the CS. There is an amount that is supposed.
The concession fee that is being negotiated right now stands at $50 million to be paid by the proponent. Adani.
And if you don't, that is not true. So I'll ask my colleague to present that information. We are the ones who are actually supposed to pay that amount of money in case we don't oblige to agreement, particularly if that agreement has been signed. So I want to raise the issue. Go to page 38, section 7.4, preliminary financial proposal.
This is the money Adani wants to be paid.
Yes.
If we cannot raise this money, we have to pay.
Thank you. It says.
Are we discussing the proposal or the agreement?
It's on the report.
No. What I'm trying to say
is the proposal that Adani is presenting to Kenya,
which the country, as per the CS, had said, they have not gone to the point of the agreement.
No,
so
but it's good for Kenyans.
The draft proposal.
Chair, it's good for Kenyans to know what we're getting into. That is it. Yeah, let's see the baby. Let's see how they have dressed up this baby. As indicated on table 8 below, we are proposing a fixed concession to be updated post-feasibility study. So it could go to $100 million US. Some of the assumptions in competitive assessment of JKIA's historical and current error charges. I
was asking, Senator, so that we don't be seen to be discussing a document that is a proposal, as the CS has said, that they
this is what it tabled.
No. Just
this is what I have.
Let me come out clear. Yeah. Let me come out clear, because you see, a proposal just is a draft. That's what we want to understand. And then, if you can just listen to me. And that's why, because we don't want to take the committee's time to discuss a document that what would I want us to deal with, is that according to direct the path that we will have to take, so that we don't even discuss the colors. The CS is what he has submitted, what he has said it's not being dealt with, or they have be proper to take Kenyans through a document that is already nowhere.
Absolutely, Chair. Through you, let me ask you, Chair, when you wanted to marry somebody, wouldn't you want them to tell you what kind of wedding they want to hold?
It's okay.
That would determine your judgment.
No.
With a lot of humility, Chair. Don't gatekeep for them.
I'm not
them answer.
I'm just
this is their document.
Can I help, Chair?
Yes.
Senator,
this is the document.
Just 1 minute, Chair. You see, the Senator is reading from the Adani proposal. Perhaps what you could direct that the CS responds to, just like we dealt with, you remember when I read the original proposal from Adani saying the runway is not a priority, they would have to evaluate traffic and see if it is necessary. So the ministry should tell us this proposal on a fixed concession fee, how have they treated it? Because it's a proposal, it's not a draft. This is a proposal that was received from Adani. During the ministry okayed this proposal. That's all they need to say.
And I believe there's no argument. There's no there's no proposal. So do you want us to spend time?
Allow me to guide you.
Okay, explain that very briefly.
It's fairly straightforward. If you refer to page 24 of the heads of terms, which 12 grade 4, which basically defines the concession fee, and where the head of page 20.
Through you, Chair.
Yeah, proceed.
I would like to state that a permanent concession means that in case we sign this agreement and Adani does not make any money whatsoever, or if anything goes wrong, then we will have to pay that money depending on what it is on a yearly basis, whether they make a profit or not. Mr. Goya, am I right or have misinterpreted this agreement?
Okay. Honorable Chair, as you may be aware, we run a network of 22 airports. Among them, JKIA is the major operator. When we are concessioning out JKIA, the other airports have to operate. And to meet that requirement, we need a concession fee from the concessionaire. When they submitted the proposal, they made a proposal that they will be paying KA on annual basis $47 million to take care of other requirements. In the negotiation, we negotiated up to $50 million, and it is resident in the heads of terms item 2.4, which my honorable CS has referred to. 12.4.
So, Chair, and you are comfortable with that figure?
We are comfortable with this figure because what this figure is supposed to do is to help us repay the outstanding loans, run the operations of the other facilities, over and above the revenues which are being generated.
Why was the loans which we have not included in the list that you on that concessionaire clause? Because we know what the airport owes.
What we've done is that this...
Just hold on before I finish through you, Chair. And if the airport reached a stage and their debts were paid, who would be receiving that money?
This money will continue to be received by KA because KA is also...
I told you that there is a section of this agreement where actually at some point KA is going to have to relinquish the responsibility of running that airport.
No.
Which you agreed to.
Honorable Chair, there is no day KA will vacate the management of JKIA.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Now, the next question I want to ask here, because I don't have a lot of time.
2 minutes.
Probably the company called LG that is providing the evaluation and analysis, the financial, how was it recruited? Did you advertise for this job?
Let me put it like this, Honorable Chair. LG is the one which advised the government. Yes.
Excuse me, Chair. Answer the question. Don't tell me the story of what LG does.
For the feasibility study,
whatever that was
we
done.
are the ones who recruited LG.
Did you advertise for them to be recruited?
According
to the procurement law.
What happened was that, and that one.
The answer is yes or no.
Give the MD an opportunity to answer.
Yeah, these are yes or no. When you see somebody lying, when you see somebody is lying, they will start telling you a story.
I mean,
I just want him to say yes.
Give him.
We did tendering.
That's the way I've given you an opportunity to ask question. Give them a chance to answer a question.
Honorable Senator, we want you to inform the public, and therefore we want to give you the right information to inform the public. What happened was that way back in 2022. LG did the National Aviation Policy and Medium-Term Investment Plan for the government of Kenya under the directorship of the PPP Directorate. Because the report was high level, we wanted to have a detailed feasibility study. So we rode on their institution of memory and the fact that they had data. So we recruited them directly to do for us the feasibility study.
Chair, help me.
You got your answer. They recruited directly. Next question.
You did direct procurement for a company that is going to do an evaluation and giving an history and that is going to tell us the valuation of our asset, and you didn't follow the law. Right?
But we saluted the law to the letter.
You didn't follow the law. So I come to the next question, Chair. There's a reason why I asked that question. When you decided that you are now going to actually bring in Adani and they are supposed to be running our airport and there are other things that they are going to do, at what stage do you feel that when you are allowing Adani to come into the airport and when you've brought in AIG to come in and these discussions are going on, did you feel there was a necessity for you to start engaging the stakeholders, particularly the workers of the airport and including the business interests and the people who are running the businesses at the airport? Did you conduct feasibility studies before you and Adani could sit down so that you get the direction the public is thinking, or did you decide that the public was not needed in making that decision?
Honorable Chair, as I mentioned earlier, ALG did for us a feasibility study upon which we got the numbers now to engage. Now, in terms of engaging the workers and the other stakeholders of the airport, we were not in a position where we had the concretized information which we could now discuss with the concerned stakeholders, and that's why we waited for the heads of terms to be ready, things cleared, so that we have something which we can discuss, which we can share with the concerned stakeholders. I submit, Chair.
So through you, Chair, there was no need to call these people. After all, as far as I'm concerned, AIG is basically an illegal entity that has been conducted exercises without authority.
So I will come to the next.
I will come to the next question very quickly, Chair. That gave a proposal for them to also come in the PPP exercise. The answer I'm going to ask you, my leader, is very simple. Did you receive any report from any other company?
The only PIP we received was from Adani Airport Holdings, but not from any other party. PIP.
Through you, Chair, did you find that normal? That one company, let's assume we are, I am saying,
nothing which has been given to Adani, and that's why we've subjected it to the due process. And within that due process, if things turn out to be that we can't sign a deal, then it will be it. So it is not something which is concluded.
So through you, Chair, when you then brought in Adani, you started engaging with them. Lately, we have seen certain individuals who presumably are Adani Group and who presumably are being protected by security agents around the airport at night. Why do you carry police officers? What is so complex with you as an MD that you lock yourself in the office until police officers pick you from there?
Chair, police officers have never picked me from the office. Yes, I walk freely. But let me put it this way. Adani has to do due diligence for them to check if the capital expenditure which they want to put in is realistic. Even Kenya Airports Authority has proceeded to do due diligence to check if Adani is the party to deal with. And it is at the conclusion of this that a decision will be made whether it is a proposal worth carrying forward or it can be put in the cells.
One minute, Senator.
You just give me 2 minutes. Last question, second last question. Rwanda Air, Ethiopian Airlines have linked up with the Emirates and they are proceeded and they are going to receive a brand new airport and they are also receiving about aeroplanes from the Qataris. What is it that Adani is giving you? They're not building. It's like one of these scandals that we lack manufacturing in Kenya for us to siphon off funds because things. Could I be wrong if I assume that this is one of the biggest con jobs that the Kenyan public has ever witnessed?
Chair, as the accounting officer, we are dealing with the documents which have been brought to us, subjecting them to the due process and making a determination within the law. The arrangement in Rwanda is based on joint ventureship. I don't know the one in Ethiopia. But at the end of it,
and you tell your grandchildren that it's the best you could have done.
This is very useful engagement, Chair, and what we've been able to do today to answer that question directly is to doing the due diligence, and a lot of questions that are being asked today are relevant questions that we need to put on the table and get satisfactory answers on behalf of the people of Kenya, come to Parliament, go through the due process, and therefore, even as we do the due diligence on this investor, they are not bringing some little money to Kenya to invest. They will do due diligence on us. And where this deal, as we go through the due diligence and the stakeholder engagement, is not, find it not fit for them as they do the due diligence on us. So, in line with the law, the PPP Act, which we have spent so much time indicating some, have this engagement that we have not had before, unfortunately, to be able to bring everybody to speed, bring Kenyan to speed, and ensure that we do go through every stage and satisfy ourselves to the extent that before executed everybody, and that's why it will go to the AG for legal opinion, it will go to the portfolio of oversighting, and will be available to provide any information at any time as we go through the due process. Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think...
Chair, I would like to conclude in just 30 seconds. Closing remarks.
Closing remarks.
Thank
so
you.
Use your closing remarks, yes.
CS, I have a message for you. Because you've been my friend for many, I think 35 years. I have high regard for you. You know, notice I've never had issues with you. Please tell the president this is a bad deal. He can reconfigure it. He can get a better company which has got respect, which is respected globally. If he can't get Emirates or Qatari, he can get Etihad. We understand that there are bilaterals. We understand, you know, I worked in foreign affairs. We know that there are certain arrangements and agreements the president can sign to benefit the country. Please tell him this thing is a stinker. Let's do it within the law. Kenyans are really upset with what is going on right now. And please, whatever you saw happening at that airport, don't take it for granted. Those people are very, very upset. Their lives are in jeopardy. You're talking about 5,000, 6,000 people. Nobody knows what this agreement is. Simplify it. Bring it to this committee. Give them a program. Tell them, look at this agreement. This is what we are looking at. Who would say no? If you come and tell me, like Rwanda, we have resuscitated KQ with 50 or 60 aeroplanes. We have paid the debt that KQ has. You are going to pay our workers who are destitute in that airline, and you are setting up Nairobi to be a hub. Which airline are you going to use to build the numbers that you want? We don't have an airline. You haven't solved the KQ problem. I beg you that this is a matter that Kenyans have taken very seriously. And thank you, sir, for listening to us.
Thank you very much. Let me have Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Chair. Yes. In closing, Honorable CS Chirchir, I'm sure by now you know that the problem with the government in which you serve is not a communication problem. It is a credibility problem. Nobody trusts this government. And even with your best intentions, you have to work to restore the credibility of the government and public trust in the government that you serve in. Number two, if you can see, the reason why there's a trust deficit is not an accident. Your own minutes from KA, as we have been taken through here, have identified the fact that there are many competing interests, and they have to be vendor-driven interests within government. So Kenyans have every right, Honorable Chair, to be suspicious of this deal. Thirdly, Honorable CS, let me disabuse you of this notion that there are stakeholders in JKIA or in our airports distinct from the people of Kenya. The stakeholders in JKIA are the 55 million of us. You cannot have a small meeting somewhere in a corner, then claim that you have had conversations with stakeholders. Stakeholders in this particular case are the 55 million Kenyans. And the fact that there was lack of disclosure, and I think the committee will be making a recommendation that we make an amendment to the law on PPP. Immediately somebody arrives at your office, Honorable CS, with a so-called privately initiated proposal. Within 48 hours, you must disclose that that email has come to your email account. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to move forward with this. There are serious integrity concerns with the company itself, and of course with the government that is proposing to go ahead with this particular project. Honorable CS, you know what happened to the finance bill. You know the sort of furor that it brought about. I can compare the objections to the Adani deal to that where we were with the finance bill. At this particular moment in time, even with your best efforts, and I know you are a very, what is the word? Yes, you are somebody who puts in effort. But I can assure you, CS, it doesn't matter how you explain this deal, the people's mind is made up on Adani. Please, abandon this deal. We will lose nothing. Go back to the position that had been taken by Cabinet as expressed by the then Transport CS Murkomen when he appeared before the Senate, that we will put out an international expression of interest. Let this process be above board. In the development and upgrade of JKIA, this PIP model is not going to be available for the government of Kenya. Put it out there in the public. Let people apply. Let the process be open. Let everybody see what proposals are coming from where. I do not agree that they are not many people who want to invest in this country. The reason why people are afraid to invest in this is because of these games and shenanigans that we are playing within our own governments and systems. We are the hosts of JKIA. All of us are stakeholders, but the people of Nairobi have told me to say no to this deal. Therefore, I want to urge you very strongly, cancel this thing. You will not, even with your best efforts, be able to convince anyone in Kenya today that this is a deal that is above board. Let us go back to public procurement when it comes to this particular deal. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Sifuna. Senator Ledamo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My friend, C.S. Davis Chirchir, you should be in the front line rejecting this deal, even if it has some deal makers over a barrel being forced to do things whether they like it or not. We live in Kenya, and Kenya is a country where people are given incentives to be able to champion certain things which even if they know they are not good. And that's what I mean being over a barrel. We have screwed up our constitution. We have messed up our legislations. We amended the Public Finance Act and made it easy for brokers to be able to come in and lobby for certain projects. This deal stinks. I want to plead with you to abandon it. If you look at the proposed capex investments, it goes in stages, We're a country, we're an industrious nation. I suppose we can definitely raise $99 million to be able to put up a runway. We can be able to raise $624 million to be able to put up a terminal. And if there's any airstrip for $92 million, we can actually be able to do that. I know right now, I've just received a text message from a very good friend, an international deal maker, and he said Adani is pissed off. And his message to me was like, Senator, be careful, Adani is pissed off. We do not want to be held hostage. This is a country that we fight so hard for. This is a country that we expect to leave it for the future generation. And I plead with you, as someone who I know is forthright, if Kenyans don't like it, leave it. Let's leave it. You know, O.J. Simpson, the lawyer in O.J. Simpson trial once said, if the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. So in this case, Kenyans all over have said, we do not give a hoot in hell about this deal. Leave it. Leave it. I know for a fact that when people get into government, they line their pockets. If you consider their wealth this year and next year, you will know that it is because of incentive. That's why their wealth has grown. This is a country that has got all instruments, and it's got all the apparatus to be able to carry out that serious due diligence. The Gen Zs have sent a very strong message. We don't want June 25th to be able to revisit us again. We have to learn, and that is the reason why, even if I'm not a member of this committee, I was in this committee today, because this deal stinks like hell. So I request you to abandon it. Let us go gradually, slowly by slowly. If once we do, analysis, and we look at our hierarchy of needs, we see that what we really require right now is what do you call it? Not an airport, but a runway. I'm pretty sure, even if we cannot afford, and even if we are not magnanimous enough to give money, we can offer an structural bond, and people will gladly invest in it. So, Mr. Chairman, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Ledama. Vice Chair?
I'm here. I would like to. I'm here.
Let's have the Vice Chair.
The Vice Chair
the chair to speak after me.
As you go.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you, Chair. Chair, let me say, just like the rest of my colleagues, that the verdict of Kenyans on the Adani deal is that there is no deal and there should be no deal. And we are privileged to be here, Mr. CS, to deliver the message to you according to the wishes of Kenyans. It will be incumbent upon you to either respond in the affirmative or otherwise, but choices have consequences. Thank you.
Senator Omtata.
Yes, Honorable CJ. CS. So, I will take you to Section 40, Clause 3, and I would ask the committee that before you retreat to write your report, the Cabinet Secretary should comply with the Section 40, Clause 3, Paragraph J, and produce justification why this project is not suitable for open competitive procurement. Cabinet Secretary, please provide that justification which the law requires as a precondition for going into a PPP. Honorable CS, I also refer to at Section 40, Clause 1 of the Act. It requires you to establish an evaluation criteria for the proposal. I would also request that this committee be served with the evaluation criteria which was established to deal with this proposal. I'll also go to take you back to Section 4, which you quoted as a justification for not complying with the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. That section is very clear that that act applies if there is counterpart funding. And I will ask that you clarify to the committee if the government of Kenya is providing any funding, and what is the status of the government of Kenya entering into direct and substitution agreements with the lenders. I will also persuade listening to the CS, his argument is that the end justifies the means. And I would like to tell the CS that in Kenya, the end does not justify the means. There's due process, there's rule of law. You must pursue them because even the Auditor General, under Article 229, Clause 6, audits government entities for lawfulness first, then effectiveness second. So as for the reference you keep on making, there was a desktop evaluation. The law does not require superficial evaluation. And there's no provision in the law for evaluation twice. The evaluation is done once, it is thorough and complete. So I would request that the committee be supplied with that evaluation report. These things of reference to the desktop and whatever is nowhere in the law. If it was an evaluation, it's an evaluation that was well done, that's comprehensive and complete. Let us have that evaluation report supplied to the committee. And then finally, as regards to your continuous plea to necessity, it is necessary, it is necessary. I want to give you a quote of what was said on the floor of the House of Commons some 300 years ago by William Pitt the Younger, who was a Prime Minister of Britain twice. He said, necessity is the plea for every infringement of human freedom. It is the argument of tyrants. It is the creed of slaves. In Kenya, we have a democratic government. We don't allow tyrants. And we are citizens. We are not slaves. So please observe the law. There's no option for this government but to observe the law. And what you have presented before us is an attempt to overthrow the lawful dispensation of this country. You are going against the Constitution. You are going against the laws of this country. And even your 20 points that you are giving here in your return is cherry picking. You have chosen those parts that in the law that seem to justify what you have done and given them as 20 steps. I would urge this committee to reject these 20 steps as being a corruption of the law and an attempt to mislead this committee, and demand that the minister complies 100% with the law. And finally, Chairman, I pray that the committee summons the CS for Finance, who is the custodian of this act, so that we can give him appropriate questions. I'm not a member of this committee, but given the enormity of the issue that was before this committee, I've left everything that I was doing to be able to be here. And I would love to meet the Minister for Finance, because I've got issues with the way these things have done, and I'm very, very clear in my mind that CS for Transport does not have the standing or the capacity to answer those questions lawfully so that they can go on record lawfully. He's a stranger to the exercise. I fully appreciate the decision of the committee to apply to invite him as maybe in charge of transport, but he is not the custodian of the PPP Act. We would like the custodian of the PPP Act to appear before this committee so that we can give him the heavy lifting we want to do with him as regards the Adani scam. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I think before I make my closing remarks, we have Senator Cherarke.
Thank you, Chair. Mine, CS is use this platform. In my opening remarks, I said there is a viral young man who is viral in Facebook saying, airport imeuzwa kwa muhindi. Can you just, the takeoff has encountered turbulence, just about the takeoff, Bwana CS, by ensuring that end these negotiations. This thing is becoming ugly, it's becoming chaotic. Just tell the country that there is no deal, there is no negotiations, and we are not objecting the building of new airport or improvement of other airports and airstrips across the country. Finally, Chair, the information I have, in fact, the United States of America government is in confidence that if Adani does the takeover of JKIA, we might lose even our flights direct to New York, Chair, that is normally scheduled per week, and this will hinder our standing among the international communities. So as you go back, Bwana CS, you are not there. This is not your baby. This looks like, and it is corruption that it needs to be stopped. allow Adani to do other airports in other parts. He's not the only one in the world that he can do that, Chair. Let us get a new investor, and we are not objecting to the airport being constructed. Let it come clear from this meeting. Yes. We want a new airport, but we want the due process of the law to be followed, Chair. It is as simple, and value for money, lawfulness and effectiveness, Bwana CS. And even as Kenyans today, I quoted Abraham Lincoln. He says the government is for the people and by the people. Give Kenyans what they want. Just use this platform, courtesy of the chair, call off the deal. Let's go back, Chair, because they say in conclusion, Chair, if it looks like a duck and sounds like a duck and quacks like a duck, it could be a real ugly swan of corruption. Let the Adani be called off. This deal called off today. Let's begin from a fresh slate, because Kenyans, even from Nandi County where I come from, they don't want this deal. Not because we have an airport next to us, but because it is the national strategic security infrastructure and we cannot risk. Chair, with those many remarks, I thank you, and I hope when the CS of National Treasury will appear and the DG, in fact, Chair, under Powers and Privileges Act, as you rule on the DG of PPP, he should be summoned and fined and frog-marched by Inspector General of Police to appear before this committee, because this is the contempt of your committee. This committee has quasi-judicial mechanisms of the High Court. With those, thank you, Chair, for having us who are friends of the committee and giving us. Chair, some of us, if we don't speak to some of these issues, we cannot sleep because Kenyans keep calling us throughout the night. But see, le kuzalamiwa agency, but in good faith, they really want to know. Chair Waziri, and as you go back, please, in future, if you have such enormity infrastructure project, kindly give us information early enough so that we don't deal with disinformation, misinformation, and fake news in some of these issues. We wish you well, and we hope you will do better than the former incompetent colleague, because alikuwa anapenda mchezo, tukapeleka yeye kwa mchezo. Asante sana. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Chirchir. Bwana Waziri, you have heard from the members. Members of this committee, friends of this committee, but all members of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. Mine, as I conclude, so that I can give you a minute so that you can also give your commitment, is to tell you that we didn't have to get where we are. If probably there was no whistleblower, maybe we'll be discussing something different. So, and it has been said here in this committee, make sure the young boy is protected and make sure that no one is doing any harm to the young man who whistleblew this one. And Bwana CS, what has come out here, if there was proper communication, and I repeat that again and again, we wouldn't be here. Kenyans would be with you, because no Kenyan is against the PPP. No Kenyan is against the BOT. No Kenyan is against any investor in this country. The problem is not the deal. The problem is the wheeler dealers, as I had said earlier. So, Bwana Waziri, carry the people with you in these processes, because we are a country that is led by the rule of law. Carry the people with you. When they say stop, you stop. Because if you run, you will find them at the finishing line. So, as we retreat as the committee to write a report, there are things that we will be internalizing. We will require more documentation. We will even require more input from the people. Because as it has been said in section 43J, that there must be a justification why we cannot do this deal competitively. We will be looking into issues like, do we resolve as the committee or the Senate that you re-advertise and invite other proposals? That is something that we'll be pondering. Will we say no Adani in this country? Those are things as a Senate we'll be looking into. Will we even decide if the deal is there. Because you said, Bwana Waziri, in your submission on question 1, no concession agreement exists. And you also said, if we were to close this deal, not close, if we were to do away with this deal, Kenya will not lose any money. All right? At least we are happy to hear that. So probably, as we go along in retiring and writing this report, we'll be looking at that issue. Also, Bwana CS, on step 17, that is when the concession agreement is signed and a copy sent to the AG for his records. We'll also be looking into that issue in the sense that whether we get to that, because you never know, I just don't want to anticipate. We might get there, we don't know, but whether we will be requesting before the signing is done, that document is made public. So I believe that those are some of the issues that we'll be looking into. We'll also been requested to summon the CS Treasury. I would want to see him and to appear before this committee. So those are some of the things we are going to be looking into, and especially the DG Directorate of PPPs. So having said that, let's all remind ourselves that we are working for the people of Kenya. It is going to go down in history that I was the chairman when the Adani deal went through. Would I want that? You will be the CS, will be down in history, the PS, and also the DG, KAA, the CEO KAA, and the Senate of today. So I believe we are doing this for the betterment or for the sake of our country. So, and I also ask people, we should not just rush to be the fake news peddlers, as well as the disinformation agents. Let's all of us work together to understand what is this thing for our country. Then from there, we move together as a team. So thank you very much, Bwana CS, for coming. It's now, what time is it now? Because it's almost 2. It's almost 2 p.m. and you came here at 9 a.m. You were here yesterday. You committed yourself to be here. And I want to join other senators. Nobody has lost hope with you, Bwana CS. Everybody is actually saying they see you, they think of you, they want you. So please, in your dealings with this deal, do not at any time disappoint Kenyans. So we give you 1 minute or 2 to also give your commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for guiding. I want to confirm, like Nairobi Senator is not in, did say we probably have a communication, maybe a credibility problem, and we do not want to get international investors digging down into the credibility of the country where we start a process and we drop it halfway. We will allow us, like you have guided, to follow the law, to be available to Parliament, to basically carry everybody along. Like I did indicate earlier, we've given these documents to the union because the way PPP has not been employed to procure the small procurements that government affords every day. It is not a very usual procurement that succeeds. And we are all frustrated with the PPP Act in that nothing almost seems to go through the PPP process. And therefore, that is why we are not able to implement the big infrastructural projects which government cannot afford. So as to whether we need to relook at the PPP Act to make it work the way the PPD, the Public Procurement and Disposal Act works, is something that we need to look at. As regarding the concern of public participation, you do know, honorable members, that we've come to the House to seek all of us to redefine the scope of public participation, because you also don't want, when you pass a bill into law, Finance Act 2023, you are told you didn't do enough public participation. What is enough public participation? Because it's a democratic space, and whereas 40 million Kenyans could say we think we are happy and 10 million says we didn't, it becomes a challenge to be able to move the country forward. And we'll appreciate if that public participation bill within the House, which is currently the House, could be expedited, so that even when we say, you can see one member say, when you receive a PPP, give it to us within 48 hours. We gave it out within 30 days, and it seemed like it was rushed. And therefore, it is really important to define some of these processes and see, particularly at this stage in time, how PPP can work for us as an anchor state, so that we do have an infrastructure that can support the region. I have heard the members. We will follow the law. We will observe the law. We will do the right thing by ensuring that if you submit the kind of representations that we have seen here today, and it helps us to have an exit or to have better understanding for Kenyans as to the need to build a new airport, then we will make the right decision. The due process is such that Senate can oversight at any time, and you can call us at any time, and like you called us and called us again today, we'll provide the information. But members, let us make decision based on information. We've submitted the information today. I personally believe you need to further internalize with that information. Request for more information we'll submit. Give us information as you receive from the public that can help all of us to make the right decision. And I want to assure you, like has been canvassed here, we will do the right thing, we will follow the law, and we will submit to the directions of Parliament. But let us really not be that country who get investors down midway and say, Kenyans say, we don't like you. Let's really, because we are doing the due diligence and all the challenges and the fact that the process is not being employed, like I've said severally, to the understanding of Kenyans, provide that information to help us to make the right decision. I thank you, Chairman, and I think you are well guided. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this brings us to the end of this session, but it's good to clarify that we had invited I'm missing his name every other minute, Christopher. Yeah, that is Christopher Kiregwa, who is the DG PPPs. And you know, we cannot wait for too long before giving this report. So having that in mind, he should appear before the committee the next sitting session, which is on Tuesday. Because for him, he has been invited before, so we do not have to give him the 7 days grace period that we give when you're inviting people. So for him, just to appear before this committee and meet this committee and answer a few questions. Then after that, we'll make a decision on when to invite the CS Treasury together with the PS Treasury. So members, any other business? So there being no other business, this sitting stands adjourned until Tuesday, 17th at 11 a.m. Thank you very much.
Senate hapa tuko sawa. Just here. Unatremia hapa. Hapa. So Senate working. So guys, Mwesh. Okay, you'll be on, yeah, you'll be here.